Netflix's Barbarians is a new German show about the rising of a 1st century Germanic tribal army against the oppression of the Roman Empire. The show is a strongly cast, well choreographed introduction to add to Netflix's lineup of historical dramas and fantasy, accompanying the likes of The Last Kingdom and The Witcher. And Cursed, but we don't talk about that one. Barbarians is a breath of fresh air in the newly rising yet already jam-packed genre of historical dramas. Barbarians strikes a bullseye for what everyone wants out of these period pieces: backstabbing, betrayal, complex characters, interesting politics, and plenty of bloody violence. So would I recommend Barbarians when there are already so many shows, especially on Netflix, to choose from? Let's find out. And don't worry, I'll try to keep it spoiler free. The show centers around three main protagonists: Ari, also known as Arminius, a Roman soldier with inner conflict; Dusnelda, a tough-as-nails war maiden with a lot of external conflict; and Falquin, a fighter who just likes conflict. Since the worlds of these medieval shows are so drastically different to our own, what draws us in are how we can relate to the characters. The sex and violence are only supplementary entertainment to our investment. Ari is a man who faces a torn identity, not knowing whether to side with his Germanic roots or his Roman upbringing. Dusnelda has an unfortunate fate of being born a woman in a patriarchal society, and the even more unfortunate circumstances of having a backstabbing prick for a father. Likewise, Falquin is determined to take on the Romans and take back his country, one dead Roman at a time. I can't recall a single actor giving a weak performance in the show. They were all outstanding. Lawrence Rupp's Ari and David Shooter's Falquin were among my favourites, their friend-foe rivalry being particularly investing. Bernard Schutz's Segestes made for a brilliant, cowardly villain along the lines of Joffrey in Game of Thrones, and anytime D'Antonio Aronica was on screen as Roman Governor Varus, he stole the show. One recommendation I will give should you choose to watch Barbarians: watch it in German with the English subtitles. As is usual with the English dub, it just feels wrong, and the German actors give such a strong performance in their native language, it's really worth reading just the subtitles. I cannot speak entirely to the historical accuracy of the show, as I'm not German and I don't know German legends and I'm no historian. I assume the show takes plenty of historical liberties just like Vikings. However, when watching it, the show never felt like it was straying out of the realm of believability. For a show that takes place only between a couple of locations, a forest, some villages, and the Roman camp, the world feels believable and well put together. The set design is well put together, and although the bird's eye view CGI is sometimes a bit odd looking, it is never so in your face to be distracting. One especially big praise I have to give is the costume design of the Roman armour. While the German tribes are kitted out in basic rags and gear, the studio clearly put big money into the design and aesthetics of the Roman gear, as it looks strong and sturdy. While I am a massive Witcher fan, I'm glad Netflix took the time to put money into the armour design and not make a ballsack style armour that the Nilfgaardians wore in Season 1. Yes, I know they've got a new design for Season 2, and I cannot wait to see how it looks in the show. So in a time when there are so many other historical dramas to compete with, how does Barbarians fare up? Following in the footsteps of Game of Thrones and Vikings, Barbarians is filled with plenty of blood, guts and sex. And while it still has a long way to go to get on the level of the wide-reaching cast and story of either of these shows, it is after all only Season 1, and it serves as a solid introduction to the world. In fact, it reminded me a lot of the first season of Vikings: short, small in scope, but strong, and laying the groundwork for a lot more to come. I would argue though that so far Barbarians is much simpler than Vikings or even The Witcher. It doesn't, or at least hasn't so far, go into deep themes such as religion or the purpose of God like Vikings did in earlier seasons, nor does it build up to a continental style conflict like in The Witcher. Although it does build up to the strong battle of Teutoburg Forest. The themes it does choose to focus on, such as the identity as in the case of Ari, it does well and conveys them effectively, even if most of the audience won't notice them as they watch the show. For the masses that just want to be entertained, the show has plenty of extremely well done violence and conflict, and it's extremely fun to watch. If you were a fan of HBO's Rome back in the day, you might notice similarities in one of the show's scenes.
What are they? Stars.
Stars. They're holes in the celestial spheres. Holes through which the light of the heavens shine.
How big are these holes?
They're big. They only seem small to us because they're hundreds of miles away.
Big enough for a man to climb through?
I suppose. A man would never be able to get up there in the first place.
I don't see why not.
How?
He could hold on to a giant bird.
It doesn't work like that.
Why not?
It's philosophy. Hard to explain.
Zum Beispiel die Lichter dort oben. Es gibt einige in Rom, die glauben, es sind große Kugeln. Die Griechen nennen sie Planeten.
Und wieso fallen sie nicht runter, deine Planeten?
Weil sie ganz schnell sind. Wie am Pfeil. Sie fliegen um uns herum.
Das sagen die Griechen.
Ein Mann namens Philolaos. Die Römer halten die Griechen für sehr schlau. Sie haben sich viel von ihnen genommen. Sogar ihre Götter.
Jeder weiß doch, dass das da oben die Lagerfeuer der Himmelsgeister sind.
I don't know if it's a reference or not, but either way it is an interesting comparison. If you enjoyed Rome but wondered what it'd be like to see the Romans from the perspective of the people Rome conquered, this is a show for you. So, how would I rate Barbarians? I would give it an 8 out of 10. The show is solid, effective, and most importantly entertaining. I would love to see a follow-up season, a wider arsenal of characters, conflicts, and for the scope of the show to get bigger. Most importantly, these violent historical dramas live and die by their battle scenes. While the ones I've seen so far in Barbarians have been solid, I would like to see more frequent and bigger battles, more political dogfighting, and definitely more of Arya and Falkland. Overall, I would definitely recommend the show, even if you haven't been entirely convinced by what I've outlined here. If you're a fan of Vikings or The Witcher, or just waiting for their next seasons, give Barbarians a try, and it just might satisfy that medieval brutality itch.